you think it's appropriate for Greg to be wearing his Army costume?
Oh my
As a
gosh.
costume? Is that appropriate?
Obviously, it's a fake costume. I'm sorry. That does look pretty sweet, though. That looks sweet.
Thank you, sir.
You wear it well. Okay, well, here we go. Wednesday's upon us, and it's time to kick this thing into high gear for this week. We're playing a really good football team. The guys have been really good. They've been on it. They've been winning for a good while now. You can go back into the end of last year when they got going, and 4-game win streak now, playing tough, playing good defense, scoring on offense, are really solid in teams. This is a really difficult challenge with a great quarterback. I can't say enough about how good this guy is. He's having a great year. He's almost completing 70% of his passes. And they're doing it in a nice balanced offense, too, because they're running the ball well. The running backs are averaging over 5 yards a carry, and it just makes it really hard. It's very similar to what we saw last week, and a really experienced quarterback and a good running game. These guys are on it. Probably the biggest extended issue is that they got really good receiving group, too, and they're big, and they can make the plays, and they've got great averages if you look at. So, there's nowhere to turn, but we just got to play great to have a chance to win. So.
Spoken very highly of Philip Rivers. What about his game is so fascinating?
He's so smart. You just can't fool the guy. He just sees everything. He's got great sense. Okay, that's kind of where it starts. But he also has extremely great accuracy. He throws the ball in all kinds of situations, whether he's in trouble or not. He's not a guy that's going to run around a lot, but he moves really adeptly in the pocket, and then he finds ways to make great throws. We saw him in preseason. He made a couple great throws in about a 6-play sequence, but he's doing it. And so he's doing a great job to get the ball out. You can't sack him, because he's so smart, so fast with the football. Just as hard as it gets.
When you're facing a guy who's been around for so long like he has, how far do you go back as you're preparing for that guy?
Well, we don't. In this case, there's reasons to go back for certain things we're looking for, but because it's a new staff, new play caller, the last couple of years, we stay pretty much in these last 2 years. That's really what's important to us.
Decision to release Brandon Marshall. What went?
Yeah, he was a great pro for us. He did such good stuff. Helped guys. On both sides of the football with all his experience and all that. He's in terrific shape for the stage of his career, and he can still play. It happened that we looked at the roster, we looked at the way we're running the football. We need a little bit more help across the board with teams and some stuff, and that would help us in general. There's just not enough throws to get it to him, but he can play, and in the event that something came down where we'd have a chance, we'd love to have him back. So we just had to do something right now, and it's unfortunate.
Is there anything about your team that has even surprised you, maybe a little bit? Something they're doing maybe better than you thought they'd be better?
I don't know that we're that far along, but to say that. But I think the consistency of their energy, from way back. If you listen to what I was saying to you back when we were in OTAs and all that. Their focus and effort to be in tune and on it was really obvious, and we've just sustained that throughout. And these guys play with a fired up attitude, whether we're in the meeting room, whether we're on the practice field, or whether we're at the stadium. And so I think there's been no dips in that regard. We've just been on kind of an ascent throughout. So. I think that's surprising. That's hard to accomplish that, and these guys have done it. And it's a tribute to the leadership. The guys that are leading, Bobby and Doug and Russ and Dwayne, all those guys that take responsibility for that.
Is the Kendrick suspension about what you expected?
We were hoping for a better shot, more games, but so no, we were hoping for more. I think I was more in the hope than the expect. But we'll look forward to getting him back when the time comes. If you notice, he can come back 2 weeks before he can play, so we'll get a chance to reacclimate him, and we'll take care of that when the time comes.
With Carson and David Moore both being in the 7th round of the same draft, that's pretty rare to find a duel like that late. Wonder what you remember about the draft process with those guys and how confident you were that you'd found something with those guys.
Yeah, well, I've talked about Chris quite a bit over the couple of years here. Now, he was a guy I fell in love with his style, and it didn't have anything to do with his stats or his numbers or his background or any of that kind of stuff. It just his style of play. It jumped off the film to me, and he'd only carried, I think he only carried about 80 times or something like that, whatever, somewhere around there, and wasn't a highly regarded prospect maybe for a lot of teams. But when it got to the 7th round, John and I were talking about it, we may be able to get him as a free agent and all that, and I didn't want to go that way. I didn't want to lose the chance of getting him. So I remember that we went ahead and made that pick when I don't know that a lot of people would have picked him there. But so we nailed it and secured it, and I was fired up about him as anybody that was on the list because I thought we might have somebody that's really special. David came from such a small school, and the film, was not great. The competition was much different than the higher levels. It was a fantastic job by the scouts to see the special talent that he had and to point it out. And then the coaches went through the process, as John was directing us on who to look at. And our guys really, really liked the physical run after catch, playmaking ability. And then there was a lot to be desired about scheme and technique and style of play and all that kind of stuff. So it was really about the athlete and the competitor that he was, which kind of always attracts us. And he was a tough guy, and he was really physical running with the football. We haven't really seen him yet, run after catch much, but he's going to be effective there too when the time comes and the opportunities arise. So, a little bit of a shot in the dark because he's come where he came from on both those guys. When we were fortunate, but I think it's the direction of John and his guys to figure out that these guys were worthy and that we should even give them a shot, and they've come through beautifully.
Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
When you know that you've got a guy like David Moore who needs improvement in the technique, is that on him? Did he take that on himself to kind of improve, or is it the coaching staff who kind of comes down?
It would be everything, Jen. It would be the coaches have to point out all of the stuff to him. He doesn't know what he doesn't know when he first gets here. So, and then also it's the modeling from the guys who are that have been around, and Doug and Tyler helping him out and keeping him working to understand the details. It's really about the massive amount of details that we that we present to him rather than what he'd seen. And so it's just the focus and the attention to all that. So it's everybody, all the way from the coordinator on down. Everybody's looking at figuring out how to help him and how to put him in positions to be successful. If you remember, we always talk about with young guys, we have to put them in positions to be successful early so that we can establish some reason to be confident, and then we expand their role as they go. And that's why David has started even in year 2 a little bit slower than maybe we would like. And you watch it, why weren't you throwing the ball all the time? Because he's been so effective so far. But it's just a process, and he's grown. He feels great about playing, and he's also got, Nate's on him day after day about the little things, the alignments, and all the footwork stuff, and will continue to be that way for some time. There was one other thing about that, he was a lot like Golden to me, and Golden's kind of in the news because of the trade and all that. But Golden had played baseball, throughout college and played a few years, I think just 3 years, and he likewise didn't have all of the detail work that was necessary, and it takes some time to get that going, and so you got to find a reason to believe in the player and the athlete to stick them out there when you know that they're likely to not be quite as accurate with their stuff as the other guys. So.
What stood out the most to you about how he's done the last 3 games? What he's been able to actually show for you in these games?
He's doing just what we've seen in practice, that he really owns the football, when it's up. He's really good at his body positioning, the strength about playing the football. You notice he's had a number of catches where there's been guys all over him and he's had to go up and take the ball away. He's really good at that. So that's coming through, and there's such a room for improvement too. There's so many things that he'll get better at in time that it's really encouraging that he can be a big factor.
You guys have gone from 55% in the red zone touchdown last year, I think, to almost 74 this year. Obviously, a long way to go, but what's the difference, you think, so far in that category?
I think the general, if you step back, it's running the football down there. That's the number one thing. We're running the ball down there. But that goes back to the design from Brian on throughout, and also Russ being able to make sense of the system and taking advantage of the throwing game, because he's thrown a lot of touchdown passes too. Again, he's on track for a bunch of touchdowns, but it's making good choices too, and that's his experience speaking to us. So it starts with the running game, and then utilizing the scheme. We're hitting it pretty good, and that's already happened. We got to do it again. Get back out there.
Has the offensive line maybe even in some ways exceeded your own kind of expectations after second?
I think that the sense we have for who we've become it has exceeded. It's really clear what we're trying to do, and we're a little bit unique in how we're going about it. Our ability to kind of capture that and we're pretty clear about how we're going about it. And I think that surprised me a little bit. I hoped it would be here, like even earlier. But I think the fact that it's so clear and we're so directed on how we're going to try to play these games, and that's a surprise. It's a very pleasant surprise.
Back to Moore.
How much of it is just the want to of the defense versus how much time those guys have spent together and the recognition of being able to do that?
I think it has to do with a couple things. The experienced guys setting the tone and the expectations of what it takes, and how we have to go about the details of it. Because like run defense in particular is always about discipline, and so that's repetition. That's clear expectations of what you want and the standards that you set, and then the way the repetitions will allow guys to learn how to do their stuff. And I think the messaging from Kenny on throughout Clinton, Andre, and John, all the guys, it has to be really solidly consistent as well. But the point really gets hammered home when your leaders make that point clear, and they stand for it. And that's Bobby and KJ and Jay Reed and those guys. They've done a great job to set things in motion.
What do you attribute Tyler Lockett's spike in touchdowns so far this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like we're utilizing him really well. I think he's getting the good opportunities. I mean, he's had phenomenal throws, but the concepts of him getting open and running through stuff, he's really, really fast, and he has great on-the-field speed and ability to accelerate to catch up with the ball, So I think it's just using them, and I would go back and you'll hear me. It goes back to the running game too. That we continue to run it and can work the field a little bit more so because of that. But really, he's a terrific player. He's such a natural athlete and football player that you just got to give him chances, and we've been able to give him good opportunities so far.
Last week you mentioned that through the first 2 games you maybe overestimated how far you progressed in the offseason offensively, offseason and preseason. What specifically were you talking about? What you thought you had progressed?
I thought we had protected really well. I think it really started there, and we thought that we would be able to, and which we are. We are a pretty good protection team now that we're on track. But the mix didn't allow for that to fit together well enough. We went after it too much with the throwing game and didn't establish the fact that you need to defend the run against us early in the games, and we got behind, and we had penalties when the third down numbers weren't where they needed to be. So it all turned into we were dropping back way too much for the style of play that we wanted to play, and we didn't do very well doing that. So that's basically what it was, and we're a little impatient in that we didn't just stay with the running game and establish it right off the bat and get it going and make that a big factor for the opponent, and then everything fits from there.
The answer might be similar to what ones you just gave, but Russell's efficiency has just been off the charts the last month as well. Is there something you've seen in him, or it's just kind of all working?
No, I think he's just taking advantage of the whole thing that's working together. If you notice, he's been really clean in the pocket. He's had great pockets, and it's extended beyond just the play passes in the third downs. We're protecting well, and so he would always be this efficient if we protect him like this, is what I feel, about him. And there's nothing that he can't do, and you just got to give him a chance. And in years past, he'd been ducking and dodging quite a bit more. It's pretty obvious in the style of play where he's been all over the place. He hasn't had to be. He's really taken off when he needs to, for the most part, and hopefully we can keep that going.
He hasn't had as many attempts as he's had in previous seasons, but he has, I think, as many touchdowns, not many interceptions. How close is that to the way that you want your quarterback to play?
Yeah, that's what we're finding the numbers right now. You look at the percentages of how much we're running it and how it's mixing with the throwing game. We're taking full advantage of the throwing game, and in the few chances that we get, he was 14 for 17 last week, and I don't think that there might have been one throwaway, and I think we caught one out of bounds, and another one we caught, and then we dropped it. So I mean, he was almost hit every pass. So that's fantastic efficiency. He's capable of that. I've always said that he could be a 70% completion guy, and in this format and this style, there's no doubt in my mind he could be. And that's when we're really, really dangerous, because there's just no space in there for the other guys, and so it's pretty good.
A #1 receiver who seems to be the biggest proponent of running the football in the locker room. Is that a rarity to have a guy that, you know?
Yeah, he's a great team player. He really is. And he wants the ball every snap too, though. I mean, don't let him fool you. He wants the ball because that's the kind of competitor he is. But he understands the game and he understands the magnitude of the style of play. And these guys want to win. Russ is the same way. You know, you would think Russ wants to throw the ball 35 times. He would gladly do that. But he wants to win more than anything else. And so whatever it takes to get that done, I think those guys are. That's why they're such good leaders, and they stand up for us at any time, and they're come-through guys in that regard.
What's your take on coverage units, kickoff punt coverage units?
I think we need to do better in kickoff coverage. We're not nearly as effective as we need to be, and kicks have been a little bit inconsistent for Seabass. That's led us into some of that, but we have to be better. It's been a point of emphasis for us. We're not satisfied. Punt coverage has been excellent. It's the kickoff coverage that isn't as good as we want it right now.
When you come up against a guy like Phillip Rivers who's seen it all, what do you tell your younger pass rushers about how to defend?
What we got to hope for that he doesn't stay on his lightning fast rhythm. If he does, the rush can't get there. And 9 sacks, he's been sacked 9 times in all these games, and it's a great tribute is to his tempo and getting the ball out. So we got to hope that we can make him hold the football so the guys have chances to get to him. So we have to stay consistent and stay patient and keep working at it. And we got to break the pocket down too. We got to see if we can move him if we can and keep him off the spot. And if all quarterbacks aren't as effective when they move off the spot, their set point where they set up in the pocket. But we just have to stay active and keep moving and use all of the calls that we'll incorporate in the game to try to keep him off tempo and off rhythm.
What stands out of their receivers that allows him to get the ball out?
They're really good. They're really good. They're really big. They play big and they play down the field. You look at their averages, like 21 and 19 for the 2 guys, and the guy who's the leading target guy, Keenan Allen, he's targeted twice as much. He's a great catcher. He's got 40 catches already or something like that. So everybody can catch really well. They've all got kind of style to themselves that's unique, and he uses the heck out of them. And then they've got a couple tight ends, but they also have Antonio Gates, and their second leading receiver is Melvin Gordon. So the ball's all over the place, and they're just fantastic players, and Benjamin comes off the bench to play for them. And he's a fantastic threat too. So it's just a really loaded group, and Kenny's doing a good job of getting the ball. Kenny Wisenhunt is doing a good job of getting the ball to all those guys and keep the threats alive.
A couple of ex-Hawks on the Chargers, and Russell and Brandon Mebane, Okung and Mebane.
Yeah, those guys are great Seahawks. I know they've been gone a while now, but it seems like they're our guys. I feel like that. Just because Banger was here when we started, and then Russell was one of the he was our first pick, right? And so as like last week too, we met up with some of our guys. It's significant. We had a lot of time. We did a lot of stuff together. We competed so hard and far and long and took it to a great place. Those relationships are deep.
How different is it playing these guys here? You had that game, 3 or 4 years ago down there early in the year where guys are cramping up right now.
Yeah, that was a tough day. That was a really hot day down there. It was as hot as any place we've played. And just showed up that day and the sun was just beating down on us. That was a hard day down there on the players. I was okay, in case you're worried about me. But the players had a hard time. Yeah, I was fine. Yeah, I was okay. But this, we're playing in our element. We're going out today to play out in the rain and ready for if it rains on Sunday. So, they don't get much of that down in L.A.
What do you think of this stretch of schedule that you guys are in right now?
Oh my goodness, I'm not looking at it very much, but I know it's out there. It's kind of like Christmas. I know it's out there, but not paying much attention to it yet. This is a big matchup, and so this is the one we're focused on. But there'll be time to be concerned about those too.
You got a favorite Halloween costume from when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I'm going to be, am I politically correct saying I'm a hobo? I don't know. That's what I remember. I don't know. Did I get in trouble for that? I don't know. I don't know. I would, yeah. Okay, so I didn't say that. Yeah. I was a stormtrooper this week, so in case you were wondering. Yeah.
When, speaking of relationships, Adam Vinatieri just set the all-time scoring record. He had him in New England. I was curious if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I wish he would have been the Hall of Famer he's going to be when he was with me. We donked a couple off the goalpost. One was to go into overtime, and then we donked another one in overtime to win it. So I remember 2 games, one at Kansas City and one against, I think it was the Bills. So my recollection is that if he'd have helped me out being a Hall of Famer, then we'd have won a couple more games. We'd have gone a little bit farther. He's been awesome. What a fantastic career he's had. I don't know how these guys do this, but you know, he's eating right, living right, taking care of himself in extraordinary fashion to be able to do what he's doing. This is amazing, and he's a great, great player. I mean, he's a sure bet Hall of Fame guy. You know, I didn't have much to contribute to that part of his career in my time, but I love the guy.
Before the draft, well, Derwin and James look like the ideal Seahawks. I'm wondering if you guys took a hard look and thought about
we did.
moving
No,
up.
he was a great prospect. He is a great prospect, and they've already recognized it, and they're featuring him. They're moving him all over the place. He can do everything. He can cover, and he can hit. He can blitz, and they're doing all that stuff with him. They got a great player.
You guys have had a bunch of free agents, whether it's Mingo, Fluker, Ed Dixon coming back now, Shamar Stephen, guys who were kind of those first wave of free agents who are contributing a lot. Maybe McDougal last year. Just what kind of goes into evaluating that type of player who's not the big name,
Yeah, that is a real focus, for our guys, the personnel guys. And John has a real good sense for trying to figure out the guys that fit us, and we communicate a lot of how we can use guys so that they fit right in, and hopefully we hit that right, and it has been a pretty good aspect of what we've done. We've made mistakes with guys that didn't work and didn't fit and all that, but the guys this year have been crucial. They've been really crucial.
Pete, have you heard that Jack Patera passed away?
Oh, that's too bad. I know Jack was real sick, and he was battling, and first head coach of the Seahawks. Yeah, that's too bad. He was a great coach. He was a great dude. I know the guys that played for him really loved playing for him. They really think the world. We've meet them, on our days when they come in, and the alumni days, and he was really important to all those guys, important to a lot of people. So we'll miss him. Sorry to hear that.
The trade deadline in the NBA and MLB are huge deals. It's like almost an event. And the NFL hasn't been so, except for the last couple of years, even more activity. Why do you think that is? Is it because they moved it to week 8, or
why is it more active now?
More active the last couple of years.
Yes, I've been asked that before. I don't really have a good answer for you, that other than there's been some good experiences. And I think people are really wary of making an error and looking bad in the middle of the season and the scrutiny and all that. So it was very cautious in the past. It's a little bit more open now. And there's a lot of moves that had to do with salary cap and stuff like that too for teams. People are positioning for the future and stuff like that. But I just think there's been more success lately, and it's a little bit more okay to make those moves. I don't know. I don't have any more than that.
People might think to incorporate a star player from someone else into what you're already doing, as opposed to in baseball.
I don't think it's as hard. No, I don't think it's that difficult. If the guy's got, if it's a halfway decent fit. Guys can learn so fast, and we can incorporate them quickly. So, Dwayne came in and was in a couple of days, and he played, the first game, and went. Guys can do that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's that big a deal.
How close or not close did you come to making a trade?
We were talking. John talked to a ton of people. We, just because that's what we do, we're competing across the board. So he talked to everybody that had anybody that was of interest, interesting to look at, and that's just how we do it. We're going to cover our bases, make sure we knew what was out there and what was going on. We did a really good job by doing what we did, which was to hold on to where we are.
Do you like the date for the deadline, or would you want to see it pushed back in a couple more weeks, or even a week or so, or?
I don't know. I don't care. It's the same for everybody, so I don't care. Would I like it to be moved back? Yeah, I'd like more opportunities to keep working, because you might need something that's out there. But it's all right.
What's your kickoff returns? What goes into putting Rashad back there versus Tyler?
I wanted to Rashad has an extraordinary history. He scored 7 touchdowns on kickoff returns. That's part of it. So we want to give him a shot at doing that. Want to keep him involved and active. And it just takes a couple hits off of Tyler too. I love Tyler back there. He's fantastic, and it doesn't mean he's not going to be back there this week or the next week. We put him back in the middle of the game for a reason last week. But trying to give Rashad a chance to get going, see if he can add something there. He's a unique stock. He's a big guy running back there, and we're anxious to see how it fits. We haven't really had enough chances yet to get a good to make a decision on going forward.
Anything else? Thank you.
See you.